I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
Folks, if you're in Texas or Oklahoma and need a top-tier metal building, you need to call the guys at Cowboy Steel Construction. Founded by Trey Norris back in 2000, Cowboy Steel has grown into one of the premier metal building contractors in the region. Need an indoor arena? Or want to cover the one you've already got? These guys know how to get the job done right. Strong, reliable, and built to last. Whether it's for ranch, business, or personal use, Cowboy Steel Construction has you covered, literally. Check out their work on social media at Cowboy Steel Construction on their Facebook and Instagram page.
Cowboy Steel Construction. We've got you covered.
Hey, Alf, how's it going, my man?
Very good, very good. I'm just glad to be here.
Man, I love the backdrop. I love all the NFR numbers back there. That's bitching.
Well, I saw that one time. I was in D. Pickett's house, and he had them just in the frames like that, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And I started doing that, and which I gave a few away, 18 times to the NFR, but I got 10 of them right here. Like my mom has one, and you know what I'm saying. People have helped me, and but I always thought that was a pretty cool deal. How about you?
That is cool. So you hazed at the NFR for 18 years, is that correct?
Well, some of them was in Oklahoma City. I see, like Catfish was a world champion in 82, 83, and 84. Well, back then they didn't give us a back number. They gave us a badge. And then when we moved to, they started giving the numbers. So I had Oklahoma City, that arena was 3 times as big as the one in Vegas. And, you know, if the dimensions, a lot of people would, you know, Las Vegas, 100 feet wide and 113 feet from the front of the chute to the buck and chute. How do I know that? I hit the buck and chutes one time. Put it, not paint off of it. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? I thought my bulldogger nodded, and I started my horse. My wife would film it. That night, her seat was directly in front of us. I promise you, I thought he nodded. I kind of started, and then I saw he didn't. I checked, and when I checked, he nodded. I promise, my feet are out. Look like I'm doing the splits. 3 people couldn't get me in that position. I promise. You see the daylight in between me and the saddle. I knew right then I was going to hit the back. We was here we come down through there, and I got him. And I'm talking about when he catches him, his feet hit the ground. My horse, boom! I'm talking about. There's no, I mean, we're going sideways like your truck on snow, like, and I'm like, you're gonna leave a mark, and boom! Look, I come down in between the chute and the horse. Now then, he throwed him 5'7" or 5'8", picture deck. There goes the hazing horse. Now, the people are starting to notice that there's 2 horses out there running around. There's nobody on them. Well, hazing horse, he's really circling like, I'm free. I catch the bulldogging horse, and the crowd started to, you know, woo, and I took my hat off, gave them though, you know what, and they hooped and hollered and cheered. I thought they was going to find me for knocking paint off the bucking chute. I mean, but
I wouldn't put it past them. That's for sure. How hard was it hazing there? Because, man, if you look back at all, watching you run, the buck and chutes come up real quick. How hard was it hazing right after? Especially because one of the things that I love so much about when you would haze at the rodeos, I mean, you got into it. Like, you created a certain environment out there, man. You loved bulldogging. You was coaching all the way in, all the way by, and all the way afterwards. So I would imagine that the Thomas and Mack being 100 and plus some feet long, I bet that back end came up quick a lot of times for you.
hardest place I ever hazed in my life. And I'm talking about Pendleton to Cheyenne to you name it. Las Vegas is the hardest place to haze for anybody because it's so quick. I mean, almost the bulldoggers can actually their start is simultaneous with the steer. I mean, then they got to almost gamble that he's going to go because if they let him move, late is not the deal in Las Vegas. I'm talking about
Right.
for either side. Team roping too. It's just such a deal how if you're just a little late, you better be coming and hard. You know, I mean, especially after you get into the reruns. I'm talking about the back end comes up very quick and it's going down rapidly. And it's pretty wide deal. You know what I'm saying? I always looked at it wherever we was at is the boxes are 10 foot wide, then the chute, however wide the chute is. That's like a lane on the interstate, like you're going westbound on I-40. We ain't getting out of it. I don't care if we're at Cheyenne to, if you're running one left, you two and the team, then the next one's going to the right, and it's a zig. Todd Fox, he told me, I ain't got a steer because the steer's going to be out there and just right here in front, in this lane somewhere. And my horse is the same deal. If you're going here and there, and it's a cluster. But it gets pretty easy for you if you can. Right, you're just going to be right out there somewhere. Bend your knee, and I'm going to drag you off on them horns. I tell people, they go, well, it was a little wide. And I said, wide? That steer inside horn hit you in the chest that you got drug. And like if they missed, well, I didn't get off in time because you ain't catching his butt. When you went by his butt, yes, it was a little wide. But when you got to the horn whacked you. So get ready. I mean, we don't want to come in at their butt because that leaves he can duck to the left. It's all about angles, and funnel them right to hit them right behind the horns, and almost it'll jerk their back end up. Boom from the horse. Like Catfish, a lot of people don't. He threw the steer for him because of the way he moved over. Physics. A 500 or 600 pound steer, a 200 pound cowboy. Hold it. People go, what do you do for a living? Well, you'll never believe it. You ever seen the bulldogging? Said we jump off of a fine horse. He ain't on fire. Jump onto a running farm animal with horns and wrestle him to the ground for money. Now listen, that tells you I'm not right there. What do? We tackle farm animals trying to make a living. People look, you do what? Yeah, we jump off on running farm animals with horns and tackle them, basically. And it'll leave a mark, let me tell you, on the Hazer, the bulldogger, everybody. 2 or 3 times I've had to, one of them was Guyman, Oklahoma, Derek Day in the short row. As we get to the steer, we got him caught to be long 3. The steer dives in front of me, flips my horse, kills the steer. I'm talking about I go out of sight. They used this run on a highlight reel for Rex. I was the advertisement. Derek Day, he's down at the back on the bulldogging horse. It looked like he said, don't ever do that again, because I didn't know what I was doing down there trying to catch the hazing horse. I go, oh, well, trust me, I don't want to do it again. I mean, it was a wreck. He's down there, he said, I didn't know what to do. It's a dangerous event. I've seen all at the BFI. I've seen people get their thumbs cut off. That when it jerks that ligament out of the arm, that's horrible. I mean, but this rodeo is, from the bull riding, any event, the barrel race, they can go down. I mean, it's an action contact sport, very much, and it's at MOP too. I mean, it's going down fast. You guys in the
That's
timber
right.
I don't ever see them going. Maybe as they're riding out the arena, one guy will kind of fist bump you. Or in the bulldog, if you see the guy come back up there, they're high fiving him. Here's one thing to me that in rodeo, until everybody, the last time I checked, there's a little deal called the draw. If you're Oklahoma City Rodeo and draw steer 22 and don't run and beat steer 22, how you gonna beat anybody else? You're not competing against him. You're not. You're competing against that animal, and you got to beat him
Man,
first.
that's something I remember hearing when Luke Branquina was on the podcast. Oat and a lot of those guys, like I think Duhon as well, was, it was you versus the steer. It was hard to be animosity towards and compete against other people when that really wasn't the contest. It was kind of what you had drawed, and now the rest is whoever's looking back at you in the mirror.
That's right.
And there's a lot to that.
If you go down to the third grade here and wherever you're at, and line up all the third graders in a line and holler, "Go!" Well, some of them are going to be faster, some of them are going to be slower. You hope you're drawing on that slower end any time to the end. So, the other times that you don't draw, make the same run, get up and get to the next one. That's all you can do on that particular. You got to just compete and beat that animal. That's the whole deal. Until people realize that, they're kidding themselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really and truly, you can outthink yourself so much in this sport. You're watching this guy, man. He throw this just like I watched Johnny Jones's deal, and he talked about drawing behind Duhon. Well, let me tell you about Steve Duhon. If you put horns on your pickup, he can throw it down if he gets the right go. I'm talking about maybe knock the back tire off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, what'd he say? He said, yeah, Duhon was 4'6", and he said, Duhon, what's his steer like? He said, well, he's a little strong right there when you pull him, when you go to the nose. And he said Duhon was 4'6". I think he said he was 12 or something like that. He said, that's when I finally, he goes, I felt it when he talked about that.
I'm telling you right now,
That bull was strong.
you didn't want to draw behind that guy, or what I'm saying, a lot of guys like that. I'm telling you that's yeah, really, for sure. Charlie,
Well, where did this passion from steer wrestling come from? When did you get started? I know your dad, he was really successful in steer wrestling as well. Is that correct?
my dad was an intercollegiate world champion in 1953. 59, the first finals that's on from Dallas in black and white and whatever, you might have seen some of that. My dad he ended up being reserve world champion. And of course, my uncle he was hazing for him, and my uncle made the in the bronc riding that year. And of course, everybody that hazed, that's the most thankless job in rodeo, because if they don't win something, my hazer got me. My dad, I remember him saying, "Yeah, if your Uncle Bill had got him over there where I needed him." Of course, the steers weigh 800 pounds. Big old Hereford. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He got beat by he had to win some whatever an average to win the world, and a second or two got him. And of course, it was my Uncle Bill's fault. My dad, he let me start hazing it when I was 11, but he wouldn't let me bulldog till I was about 16. But he he talked to me like a grown man, like how to do it, but he would brag on me too. I'm talking about one thing I think to anybody, when I started bulldogging, for instance, I might run one, Hoolie's handy, knock one horn off of him, like it's a brag. Get up, start walking back up there, and my dad, instead of going, "What was you doing?" He go, "You scored good. He'd tell you something, you did good first. But now look here. How many steers you got?" We would never have 4 or 5 or 6. He goes, I go, "Up 5." And he goes, Well, if you don't work on that get off, you ain't gonna get the bulldog because now you're down to 4. You see what I mean? He didn't go to screaming and hollering. He tell you something you did good first, but you don't work on that get off, you ain't gonna get the bulldog. You're gonna be out of steers. It it meant, you kept listening. Somebody goes to hollering at you, you turn it off. Anybody, I don't care who you are. My crews at the rodeo, always, we get done. You can brag on each other out in the arena, but no cussing. We got done. We take the horses to the trailer every time, tie them up, loose them off. Now we can fist fight out here like brothers and get it out. I mean, and sometimes it kind of had to separate, you know what I'm saying? But get it out of the way and let it go. Go to the next one.
I loved how the Bulldoggers handled business, man. It was handled like men.
That's right. Exactly. Don't get it out of the way. There ain't gonna be no talking behind somebody's back. Or he was saying, nuh-uh. Right out in open in front. That keeps it keeps you winning. You know, I mean, if you break it down, people always they wanted to get in my rig, go to next, catch a ride or something to the next rodeo. Well, it'd get dusty in that truck from Bulldog. Like they'd be running them, and I'd go, hold it, nuh-uh, because that wore me out. It made you got to stay fresh, and your mind has to too. I think you can overdo it, overkill. Like my dad, we'd be practicing. And I'd be planning on maybe running 10 ahead in the bulldog and practicing. That's a lot because you get nicked up even when it's successful. If I made a good run, that's it, you're done. Always would stop on a good one. He said, learn how to throw the good ones because that's what they went on at the rodeo. Nobody wins on them, and they don't. Learn how to throw the good ones, rope the good steers, and it keeps you and always stop on a good run. That way, I scored last year. Loosen him off in the box. I go to rodeo, and the first one I'd run, he kind of, how the horse, after you scored some, the next one you run, they don't just leave off or that's the way mine generally did. Practice the way it's going to be at the rodeo a lot. I had a guy that's coaching. He wouldn't do good. Finally, I said, that's it. Tomorrow, we're going to start running 1 steer a day. That's it, 1 steer. Put your number on, get your best gal out there. I don't care get ready, because that's all you get to run at the rodeo. Practice what's fixing to go down. And he went to winning. That one, I mean, I said, it ain't about, I ain't got time to practice. We got to practice like we're going to be at the rodeo. And that sometimes when it's not going good, try something different. Don't just, I'm going to, it might be a deal about let's go to the bar, get drunk, instead of out here hammering on yourself and beating yourself. If we're our own worst enemies, we're not going to win much. You got to have your confidence up. Hey, everybody's going to be no time occasionally, and nobody bats 1,000. Nobody. I told Victor Deck first time I ever went, we got to get 33 or 34 checks out of this 100 rodeos. That his biggest check all year, 2,800, and the 34th one came in San Francisco, and he made the finals. That was batting 340. So it's just checks. All of a sudden, it adds up. I used to go to rodeo. I know what won first. Well, what placed? I don't know, but I knew what one. I got to as longevity. I was lucky to get to still. I found out what one, 4th, 5th, 6th. I mean, checks. All of a sudden they add up, and then a first will come. If you're always trying to win first, them checks are going to be far and whatever between. You don't beat yourself, you got a serious chance. And what? Keep it fun. Team roping, I've seen them switch partners. The bulldog, Hazer got me. The horse did. Look at yourself first, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
If
Well, how long did you bulldog before Hazen started taking over, where you kind of started becoming the full-time Hazen?
Catfish, I had him in college. Walter Mary, Easy Jet. I mean, this is the honest to God. It took me 2 years, Charlie, to in them college rodeos. There wasn't no band. It was perfect. It's like AAA baseball. The crowd wasn't very. But now let me tell you something. He was running so fast they'd raced him on the track. When the gate opened, he left. Whether the steer went or not. You with me? The gate opened, he was gone. If the steer better come on, or he didn't see no steer. See what I'm saying? I won the region. I won the region to college. That was 1980. Now me, Ole Smith, and Steve Bland start rodeoing. All of a sudden, 82, Catfish is the world champ. Now I'm still bulldogging, but be at the rodeo. 1 year at Houston, 200 entries. I let 50 guys ride Catfish. Now, if you're hazing 50 steers, all of a sudden you're up. You jump off, run over, and get on. You don't have much time to think about your bulldogging. Almost, I was making more money on this side, and I tore my knee up at Cheyenne. I got 2 screws in my left knee, and all of a sudden the hazing become a lot more than the bulldogging, in which
What what was the percentage back then? Like when you own your own horse and you own your own Hayes horse and you have a team, what was the percentage back then? Is it the same now?
same now, 25%. If you haze for somebody and he has his own bulldogging horse, you get an 8, which is 12 and a half. And I tell you what, I can figure 25% of anything. You got me? That's how I got paid. I'm not the smartest, brightest in the, bulb in the deal, but I can figure 25% of anything. One winner, Catfish, you talk about dominate. He won first, third, fifth, first Denver, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and Houston. Won them all. It's never been done before, and it'll never be done again. I'm talking about, I said 50 runs at Houston. What is a 2-header? That's 100 runs. The ring, probably the biggest arena in rodeo besides Pendleton and Cheyenne. 4 acres. That's over 100. Short dog, he probably run 110 steers, but he won 25,000.
Mm.
Nowadays, that'd be, 50,000 at one rodeo. I had 5 guys at
That
the
that's some dominance. That
first.
horse was dominant.
Look here, Charlie, and this is no kidding. I never rode a horse that the further you went, the faster it got. I don't know if I ever hit, and your hat would go to, like from the wind. And I mean, you got faster and faster, faster, faster. I'd tell people stories, and I walk off, and I know they thought, what was he drinking or what? Can you believe that? Play Tom Cooper. He can attest to this. At Cheyenne, there's a racetrack around the arena. They have races during the rodeo. A lot of people bulldogging or what, and they'll turn a race loose. In the park one day, I forget who's bulldogging. Catfish, they nod, catch the steer, they're sliding, catfish are going down the arena. All of a sudden, here comes the horses on the track. He looks up, sees them, about 3/4. He turns, and Charlie, he passed them before they got to the other end of the arena. The cowboys are all hooping and hollering, and he just made a big circle, went to bucket, and ran back to the other end. Play Tom Cooper. I mean, you tell he did what? He turned and literally saw him, turned, and he knew exactly what was going on. Passed him, turned, and went back to the other end. Unbelievable. Clay Tom, he commented one time on people were telling him like what things that he had seen and this and that. He goes, one of the damnedest things I ever saw was Catfish Cheyenne, and it was unbelievable. He liked to run. He loved it.
Hi, I'm Trevor Brazil.
My name's Corey Kuntz.
Hi, I'm Gino Nogueira.
I'm Luke Brown.
Hi, I'm Tyler Wade.
I'm Caleb Driggers.
Miles Baker,
Wesley Thorpe.
Paul Eaves.
Patrick Smith.
We ask so much out of our horses that recovery is crucial, and that's why I use Equinety.
I've been doing this a long time. What I have in common with these ropers is we all trust Equinety.
I feed Equinety because I want to give my horses any edge.
My horse.
My horse.
My horse.
My horse.
All my horses have the Equinety edge.
Besides his speed, what was it? What do you think it was about him that? Because I mean, there's been a lot of horses I'm sure that came off the track that guys bulldogged on, but to be that dominant, there had to be something. There was something about that horse that when guys got on him, that man, to be that dominant. Those are some of the biggest rodeos of the year.
He was the winner. I'm talking about, and he had this, in the bulldogging. If the horse comes up there and moves over, it throws your hip into the steer, and literally it'll help you turn them and throw them. It's all about angles and physics, about the momentum, but he had a really nice move, and it gave you a hell of a go. But now, if you leaned off and pointed, he'd put you in the hospital. Maybe, I mean, he'd skin you up. I can tell you this: if you pointed and leaned off, get ready. He's gonna take dirt, and it's gonna be like tumbling is a wreck. But if you turn loose this, anybody bulldog turn the reins loose, they didn't need to steer anybody because the hazer is taking the steer. He's guiding the whole deal by wherever he takes the steer. See what I mean? So the bulldogger really, he's hampering the whole situation, any horse, because the horse sees it quicker. Like a cat, he sees this mouse going, he makes the move. There's something about in their eyesight. They see it before we do. And it's just a react. You see what I'm saying? Let the horse do it and see it, and it's perfect every time. But a lot of times the cowboy, he'll rein to the right, and all of a sudden he needs to be going the other way. See what I'm saying? And it holds them up. It keeps the horse from performing to his utmost. If you ever see in a team roping, the calf roping, when they nod, if that horse's head comes up he pulled on him. You got me? See what I'm saying? If his head, that's the worst thing that can happen. Any time to men. They come up like that, a lot of them will come off the ground. See what I'm saying? To me, I always said it was like having a 5-gallon bucket of water in the corner. You want to just start flowing out the front. Even if you're off, but everything's flowing that way. If you start to pour and pull, like I talked about, I did hazing, all of a sudden, and you can't get back rolling. It sloshes water out the back of that bucket, and that's what happens to your horse. At the racetrack, the barrel race, no tie down. Catfish did not have a tie down on him. You know what I'm saying? They can extend their nose and they can stretch out. Calf roping, team roping, yeah, you got to have a tie down because they got to set and turn. Calf roping, they got to stop. Yeah, but no tie down at the racetrack. What's good enough for them is good enough for me.
That's
Now
right.
bull.
Who was some of the guys that rode Catfish back in the day? Who was a lot of the guys that you hazed for, and who was kind of in your guys' rig?
Well, Ole Smith and Steve Bland and me, we wore up 5 or 6 pickups together over the years. Was mainly, but like we get to the rodeo, I had Paul Tierney, Tom Ferguson, Butch Myers. I mean, Fred Larson. Catfish didn't weigh but 1,050 pounds, and now here's Big Fred. You know what I'm saying? He weighed a fourth of what the horse weighed. I mean, Danny Torsellis one time, and this is no kidding, at Houston, the bear comes off the steer's neck, and he's kicking, and it wraps around the stirrup and his leg and jerks the stirrup and him off the Catfish. tore the bear down. I mean, if you've ever seen that happen, it's ugly. His neck rope come off here, and it dallied around his leg as he was. To me, kicking, the heck with kicking, get ready to get off in the bulldogging. Because if I get up on your shoulders and I'm wiggling around and you're trying to piggyback me, you can't run as fast. But if I'm up there like a jockey, not moving, it gives the horse a lot more. You know what I'm saying? I had Clay O'Brien ride Catfish before. No kidding. I mean, he got money too. It just, back then, there's a lot of people knew that I was going to be there. I always had my rig painted Catfish World, and they'd know I was there. They'd see that rig, they'd know, and I was pretty much I'd let you on, even anybody almost, because I like money. And he was a mount horse that he could handle the goes. But I'd tell people, now look, you do this, that, what? This horse is going to cripple you because he's going to be running so fast. And a lot of guys that first rode him, I'd go, get off, get off, get off, get off. And all of a sudden, they'd never been their knee till they was already by. And they'd hit out in front of the steer. I'd go, dude, what was you thinking? He goes, they'd all be like, well, we just got there before I thought I'm like, you never bent your knee until you was already by. And that was, look, you better get ready because this is fixing to go down. And as you're rodeoing, like Ole and Steve, Ole made the finals in the bulldogging, won the 50,000 category, timed event champ. He was intercollegiate world champion healer. Steve Bland was on 4 intercollegiate world champion all around or team deals. He won the bulldog at Cheyenne before he made the finals in the calf rope. Won the team roping at the El Dorado days. He's a winner. I never seen anything like him. That he used to have this old Dodge Tioga bus, and he was all the time working on it. When he's in California, it breaks down. Him and his wife. Most people right then would have been beat. I don't care what. He goes down, rents a U-Haul, has his wife ride the horses from the sale barn to the sale barn, backs this U-Haul up to this loading chute, loads all her barrel horse, his calf horse, saddles, rope, and pulls the chain down, not the door, the chain. And his horses just goes to Salinas. She wins the barrel race. He wins the all around and the cat. I mean, I never seen anything like it that didn't pertain to him. That truck blowing up or the motorhome. If he'd get you there, and then you better look out. He'd get your money. I mean, there's just you know what I'm saying. And if I heard him say it once, 1,000 times. Look good, feel good, do good. And that was, I mean, he'd have his old best dirty shirt out there, fluffing it, and that makes you feel good too. If you know what I'm saying.
That's right.
And the difference between winning and not is a very fine line. And that might, he'd spit on his fingers and lick his hair back like he beat anything I ever seen. And me and Ole was a freak because he was so big. I'm talking about he was like Duhan size, and he was agile as a cat. I mean, it was unbelievable. His hands, you got to have good people around you that are always telling you, yes, you can, and that's so important.
Yeah, Ole. One of the things, one of my favorite westerns was The Good Old Boys. Did you ever watch that with Tommy Lee Jones? Where Ole was in there busting steers. That was a movie that never got out much. It was one of my favorite movies.
I'll guarantee you. And see him and Steve. Steve was in that too. He was the other guy tripping the steers.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They had a couple. They did a couple, 2 or 3 movies that they had the production company and the whole deal. But that Ole Smith, I'm gonna tell you what. Just like the timed event deal, he can get your money head and heel and trip. It don't matter. He's a cowboy, and that like 1 year at Calgary, they come down to the last and they get to 4 people. Well, 1 year Catfish, he's got 3 out of the 4 for 68,000, and then next year he's got all 4 of them for 72. And they'd go. I shouldn't say this, where you might have to bleep it. Fuck them. They don't want to pay 25%. They ain't going to win nothing. Let them ride their own horse. They can't compete with us. And he was right. You know what I'm saying? It was just dominant. Steve, he'd be one time. Steve Bland, he was in Amarillo in the slack in the morning. Well, Steve was kind of like the party, to put it mildly. Well, he went out to the bar the night before, who knows how late. He's asleep in the grandstands. I'm talking about stretched out asleep. They had the first run of the bulldogging steers. They draw him. He draws the steer. They're winning it on. He's still asleep. Ole hollers up there, somebody wake that bald-headed, no good partying some bitch up. They wake him up, and he, I promise you, Ole sets the stirrups. I lead Catfish over the fence. He walks down there, never touches the dirt, crawls over the top of the fence, gets on Catfish, and Ole's going, you got the ones, Duke. This is him. They're winning the go-around. I go, come on, Duke. Get it on. His nickname was Dookie. He's 3'4", never touched the dirt, never saw one run. 3'4", he's back up in the grandstands and asleep before they run 2 more steers. I mean, he was a machine. He didn't. What's the start? You just programmed him, and he did it. He'd be loosening up. I promise, never touched the dirt. 3'4", 3'5". I mean, it's crazy, unbelievable. Ollie Smith.
When was it when John W. started getting on? I think if I remember right, it was around 85. Does that be right?
He rode Catfish at Oklahoma City, like before it left there.
Or 84.
And
84, yeah, 84.
And when guys like that got on, he made me look good, made Catfish look good. I mean, Johnny, it was just so consistent. He if he drawed a steer that was stouter and run, he made the same run, and he looked the same as if he had the best one. He just, boom, just I told somebody one time about him. I said, what? I don't care what he drawed. Let's say steer 50. Well, steer 50 drawed bad tonight. He got Johnny. Because he was going down. I promise you. There was a thing. It was just like watching paint dry. It's the thing. He nodded his head. I mean, the only time he ever missed one was that Dillon, Missouri. The steer stopped. He hit him right. And look, he was a humble guy. You know what I mean?
Go ahead and explain that story from your version right there from where you were at, because, man, I was slapping my knee when John W. was telling me about that, because I was wondering if he'd ever had any mishaps from, a start getting there fast, having to switch from his left hand to the left hand with the reins, then back to the stirrup, then get that right hand out if there was ever a problem. He said, well, there was this one time. And he said you were hazing for him.
He'd tell on himself. Like, that's what made him so great. Was that, yeah, one time, and it was ugly, horrible. There was even fingernail marks on the back of the saddle horn where like he was clawing to get something. Not only did it miss him, it hit him straight square in the butt, and there was cow shit all over that steer. And of course, everybody on the back of the chute were hooping and hollering, laughing, and it embarrassed him. Oh my gosh! Like I said, he just slid over, climbed over the fence, and left. But he could have been 3-2, and he just pushed his pants down, and he didn't jump up. You know what I'm saying? He just slipped over into the crowd and all of a sudden disappeared. But that was, it was ugly. I mean, it left a mark too on him. Johnny was so humble, you know, and he a lot of people, they think if they're this, that. He just wanted to be one of the guys, one of the fellas. But what he did was get your money. One thing that people don't realize about John W. Jones, 3-time world champion. Well, they changed it to where we could go to 100 rodeos, everybody. Like he said, I heard him say something about him and Chris entered 176. Now think that over. That's going to one every 2 days. A lot of them are 2-headers. So that really means you're going to see what I mean. I used to drive to 85 rodeos. Well, really, most of them was 2-headers. Well, that's 165. So out of 365, you're going to one every 2.5 days.
Mm-hmm.
100 rodeos. He wins the world going to 100 rodeos. His second world championship, he went to 75. The third one, he went to 50. 50 rodeos. Now, people don't know that. Now, look here. He was competing against himself. You know what I mean? What he had to prove. I did it at 100. I did it at 75, and now 50. Now that, I mean,
That's wild.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And he hadn't, he hadn't told nobody that because that's just big deal. You know what I'm saying? But to me, that was unbelievable. And he was just a very humble guy. He'd have a beer with you, but he told everybody he had somebody to handle the party, and that was his Hazer, Alfalfa.
This episode is brought to you by Ryan Studdard with Oak and Ash Realty. Ryan, the broker and owner of Oak and Ash Realty, is someone who understands the land, lifestyle, and the work that goes into it. Whether you're looking for acreage to run horses and cattle, a place with room for an arena, or a home that fits your family just right, Ryan has the experience to help you find that perfect property that fits your needs. If you're looking to sell and want an experienced broker that understands the nuances of farm and ranch properties, Ryan has that track record. From ranch land and ranchettes to residential and investment properties across North Texas, Ryan knows what matters. I've had the experience of working with Ryan multiple times over the last few years, and I can attest firsthand to his knowledge and experience. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or just want a straight answer about land or real estate, give Ryan Studdard a call at 817-683-9505 or check him out at oakandashrealty.com.
Who was a lot of the other guys too that you hazed for and mounted? What were some of the horses you had also through the 80s and 90s and kind of explain that era as well?
I tell you what I did. Like I said, I used to go to, when I had Catfish, I went to Denver, Fort Worth, and I'd sit there, stay there. And people knew I'd be there, and they'd come. And Catfish, he got sick, and then, like, his career was over, and I was rodeoing a little, and Todd Fox hired me to go with him. He said, look here, what you need to do is get you a horse and get you a crew and rodeo. Instead of going and setting, he said, get you 4 guys and load them up and take off. Well, I did. I now actually, Catfish won $1,300,000. I told him it'll take 2 horses to win what he did, so I loaded up 2 horses. I had a horse that I bought from Lee Graves that Blaine Peterson had won the world on, called Smoke. He's a black horse that could fly. I'm talking about, but he ran. The knock on him was that he ran too close. He just ran straight by. But for the mount business, you get off early as you want, try to point, whatever. He was just going to drag you off on the horns. I mean, to me, that was, well, you ride on Smoke. You was going to, he could fly. You'd be going Mach 2. You better get ready because he's going to hit the horns. And then I had a little old horse called Shorty that he was a lot like Catfish. If you pulled on him, he would move over. we rode them at both, like this guy might ride this horse, this rodeo. We rode them both at every rodeo. And then you had two, Kirby Call, Victor Deck, Al Druschel. They went with me for years. Was all in the same truck I did the interim. We'd get there, I'd say, Kirby Call, this Smoke, this black horse, he was almost, you've had head horses that just fit you. Just like, and some, you get on anybody's horse to win some, but some fit you better than others. Well, this black horse, I told him, man, he's almost like they created him and sent him to you, and he won on him. The horse was speed as they hit the horn, they get off, I call it point of contact, where the cowboy hits the steers behind the head. It will literally, their back feet will kind of come up off the ground. Smoke, the knock on him was he ran too close, and they'd always be trying to wave him over with it. You see people going down through there. My dad always told me, don't do that. He said, because the steer sees that too, and you're waving him over too. He said, just give him a little room on your side. So for the first year, as we got to the steer, I'd just move over. Well, that horse would come in so hard, the steer would kind of, all of a sudden they had room, and boom. It was just, I won $1 million on him. Shorty, he was more finesse, little short horse. He was almost like, I asked Gail Petchko one time, I said, can a horse be, he could be in the right lead in the front and the left lead in the back. It was like a big piece of equipment where he could bend in the middle. I said, is that possible for a horse? She said, I had one. When I said, was he any good? She said, I won the world on him 3 or 4 times. See, that's anything, when they switch leads in the front, they got to switch leads in the back, not him. Quinn Campbell, my old partner that I've had forever, he's at my house. We're in between rodeos. He's laying on the couch eating, watching the soap operas with my wife. And I'd go in there and he'd have his feet up. And I go, cue ball, get up and get out there and saddle Shorty up and start riding him, exercising him. What for? I said, because I said so. He'd be out there in the arena and I said, lope him in a big circle. Well, he'd be in the right lead and loping him. And all of a sudden I was standing there on the ground watching. And old Shorty, he'd switch in the back to the left lead. And like he was bored, like he'd been in this big circle. He'd switch to the left lead and then back to the left, and he was still in the right lead in the front. And I was like, that's unbelievable. Because, any horse, they're in the right lead in the front, they switch and they're in the right lead in the back. Not him. It mattered him. That way he could go around these steers I'm talking about. I buy this horse from a young man in Missouri. I came from the finals. I talked to him way back at Kansas City about his horse, and I got his phone number, gave him mine. I went to the finals. I was coming back from the finals, and I'm pull up at my house. I'm trying to get the door open. My phone's ringing in the house. This is before cell phones. And I'm trying to get the door open. I can hear the phone ring. I finally get it open. I run in there, and it's this young man. Hey. And I said, look here, dude. This is some kind of sign for me to get here from the finals. You're calling me. I said, if you'll meet me in Saxon, Missouri, or up there in hell, I forget, right up there on the line, let me try this horse for a week. I'll pay you whatever you want, or I'll bring him back to you. Well, this horse looked just like a horse I learned to bulldog on that my dad had. It looked like a clone out of him. I went and get him. My dad at that time, Charlie, had cancer, and it was starting to kill him, really. I go get this horse. I bring him home, and this horse, I swear to God, looked like a woolly mammoth. He had hair on him that long. All over his body. And my dad, I told him, we're going to be practicing this afternoon. Come look at this horse. He drives his Jeep right down into the arena. It's about 55, 60 degrees. He's got his insulated coveralls on. And he's in that Jeep because, cancer, they're cold all the time. We run about 3 or 4 steers, and I lead him back up there. And my dad rolls that window down. He goes, looks like old Shorty, just like old Shorty. At that point, I would have gave this young man about anything he wanted for this horse. You know what I'm saying? I take him to Denver. We ride my other horse. I run some extra steers. I get to Fort Worth. John W. Jones goes, I want to ride your other horse, your new horse. Joe Levinson wins second at Fort Worth, 8,800 or whatever, and it's on now. People seeing. Get to San Antonio. Johnny Jones flies in from California. He gets there. The bareback riding's half done, and Bulldog's next. He's sitting 11th. I go, they're in a bind, champ. You got him. You got the one that's 3.6, 3.8. He sets his stirrups. I got the 3.5. Wins the short goal. Goes from 11th to 2nd. Of course, now it's really on. Now I got people here. Now it's on. I take him to the finals that year and win 60,000 on him. Butch Myers, Rope Myers, Todd Fox. Todd sold his horse to ride him all the time. I mean, he just got the same Hazer. My horses, they were partners. I mean, it was a team. They was together all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'd go feed him. I'd talk like Catfish. I used to walk in his pen. You the baddest. I'd talk, pet him. It's like family. I said, you need some water, dude? Let me get you some water. You know what I'm saying? In my crew, the same deal. Kirby Call, he was always a morning person. He'd go feed in the morning. Like we'd like pull in someplace, and I'd put the horses up. They was all asleep. Well, he wouldn't ask where they's at. He just gets the feed. And he said, I'd get me a cigarette and go in there and whistle real loud. And he'd hear old Shorty go, and he'd go right to him. He'd know right where he's at. I mean, it was just a team effort, very much so. And it makes
Well,
it fun.
explain a little bit of the haze and the fact of, I guess you're not just putting a fence out there, as far as like what your job and what you're trying to do is, and how you can manipulate the steer with either what the steer has a tendency of doing, or even just when you're talking about the horse, being able to get enough room that wants to run tight. Some guys, I'm sure, like them certain ways. Some guys like them to step, so talk a little bit about what made, you so great for so long, Hayes. And I mean, I remember one the other day when we were talking about like the amount of money your horses had won and the hazing, that you'd had. I mean, you're right up there with one of the legends of the game with being able to be able to put those steers where they needed to be.
To me, how do you steer a wheelbarrow? From behind. If you take the back end of the wheelbarrow and push it to the left, the front goes right. Vice versa. I learned as much about hazing. My dad always ran a bunch of cattle in the wheat pasture. And then he'd take them to the feedlot. I gathered a lot of cattle out in a big open area to work. If this herd's going, you better get to the front and turn them. I myself learned that as the gate opened, I broke towards the pen. When the steers are dead fresh in the team roping or bulldogging, who gets seen first? The hazer and the heeler. So that steer gets trained to be looking for you. I mean, and they will. You can almost see the steer. I'd break at the pen and come up their back. And if a steer that had gone left a bunch, I'd stay back here right at his hip, close to him, and he'd almost be looking for me, and it'd keep him coming to the straight, see, or almost to the right. And then as they got there, the left horn is always right in front of your left leg. That's the way I was taught. as the bulldog catches him, a lot of times that hits you on the shin, and ooh, I got to wear a bell racing pad or whatever, because when they caught him and that hit my shin, it hurt. Charlie, I started moving up that much to where when they got off, that horn hit behind me. I think it made me win more because I closed off the right eye. See what I mean? I moved up about 2 feet, and it made them, like their head would back and forth, and then they'd go, "You got me." And my guys would catch them, their feet hit the ground, and then right back to running. If you're back here, stay behind, and they keep running. I'm talking about they got no, you almost you don't. I'm not talking about set them, but just break their heart to where they got me, and then right back to running. When I figured that out, we went to really winning. Then I figured out that I could control which way they went. I could take a steer that had been going left, and I could steer him right down the middle of the arena. And then it got easy for me because I'd been around so many cattle, loading trucks to whatever. But it was when the steer in the bulldogging, the bulldogger catches him and he's sliding him down the arena. Right before he hooks him by the nose, what lead is he in? The steer. What lead do you think he's in?
As if he was getting it when the bulldogger gets in the hole.
No, as he
Would it be
caught
his
him,
left?
sliding him. Right before he hooks him by the nose to throw him, what lead's he in?
Would he be in the left?
No, sir. He's in the right. I've asked that
In
question.
the right?
Well, because think about it, that right front leg's always will be up. Like in the picture, you'll see. You know what I'm saying? And so that means in the right lead in the back, too. Why would I ever want to put him in the left lead? Because when they in the left lead, when you catch him, he's in the left lead in the back, and the back end of the steer will come up and hit you right between like boom, and knock you forward. You know what I'm saying? But if he's in the right lead, I could take a steer punter. If their feet were hitting the ground, I'd make him move towards me. And his butt would already be swinging. You got what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it just, whew, is quick, really quick.
Yeah.
I put a clock down, the face of a clock, let's say imaginary, down on the arena. When the steer's standing in the chute, that's at 12 o'clock. 1, 2, 3 is over here. 4, 5, 6 is the let out gate, like at the NFR. That's 6 o'clock. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, the flag man is over here on this side. That tail has to hit at 6 every time so the flag man can see his feet. Got me? If they don't, if that tail hits at 3, 4, 5, he'll roll down his back, and the flag man will ride down the arena. He'll let the dust settle before you'll be getting up by the time he drops it. When that tail hits at 6 and he can see their feet, a lot of times he'll drop it simultaneously. I mean, almost as that. I mean, you just get such a quicker fall. You understand what I'm saying? A flat fall in pro rodeo, that's what wins money. At the bottom, they could run one down there, and if he hit flat, like I'm saying, the best deal was that if their tail's at 9, he can really see it. See the flag man. That's the only one guy we're trying to impress is the guy with the flag. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Same deal with y'all team roping. See, he's got to be in the right lead. When you head him and that right leg will come up like that, that means he's in the right lead in the back. That's when they split their legs. Healing is when it's the opposite. That makes sense? To me, you got me sweating, partner.
Loving it. I'm loving it. I loved it the other day when we were talking about too, like like some of the team that you had, like you kept pretty good track of like what your team and Hayes horses had won, throughout a year on some of those years. What, when guys are looking at it, as far as when a guy's able to do as a team, put a team together, put guys in the rig, and then also too was as a hazer, and then were you kind of managing the rig? Did you also do a lot of the entering? You were kind of commanding the ship a
I
lot of
did
throughout
all
the season, wasn't you?
I did all the entering. And what's crazy is alfalfa. I get bored sometimes. Well, I was trying to figure out Procom. You know what I'm saying? And there's nobody ever figured out Procom. I mean, ever.
Yeah, no lot. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying I ever did, but I kind of had an idea of what was happening. Kind of. I would do the entering. What happens to a lot of people? I talked to Tom Ferguson, what he thought and believed, and I had longevity, and I got to be able to try this, that. You see what I'm trying to say? Tom, he thought this and that, and like at rodeos that you got to give preference, they do it. They go from the front to the back when they're drawing them at Procom. See, they draw you out just like at rodeo, supposedly, when they draw the stock. Well, at the rodeos that you got to give a preference at, Tom Ferguson, Tom Ferguson, he would call it in right when they opened, and he wouldn't call back until it was closed. A lot of people they'll call. Well, you got to, they'll put their name in that everybody's got a number and it's rotating in this computer. Well, he would call one time, and let's say the ones he got to give his preference at, he called right when they opened. And the ones that he didn't, he'd do the opposite. Well, I also learned that let's say you got four guys in your buddy, and let's say Alfalfa C15066P. Well, when my numbers started going cold, I would rotate and use one of my other guys' number. See, that's what a lot of people want. They'll just stick with. See what I'm saying? Well, Procom is set up to where it's different. It gives everybody the same shot. You got a number, and it goes in there. Just because you're Johnny Jones or Oak Berry, it doesn't show no preference. So you put your number in there. Well, every number's gonna finally, if you're entering enough, all of a sudden you're getting up terrible. You will go to the dead middle. You agree? See, at some point you do start getting up. When I reached that point with the number, I run and start using one of my other guys. See, well, before the 4th of July, I'd get this number headed towards the best, and after a couple of them, I'd stop him and hold him. Like, this number is fixing to go to good. And I'd use one of my others. I'd stop using it. Now then, we got to the 4th of July when we had to have it. I'd start running them numbers in there, knowing they was going to come to the good. Bam, 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 bam. Everywhere was like, you know what I'm saying? And it just, and my guys, half of them, they can hardly know the number down there at Procom. But it worked. You see what I'm trying to say? Like if you're going to enter enough rodeos, your number will, and then all of a sudden you start getting up a little better. See, they set it up to where there's no preference. I mean, you don't have privileges just because you're a world champion. That's why Johnny even mentioned it at the finals. Let's say you started winning, well, you got to go at the back of the pack, and it was so hard to win when you was being first. Well, why they did that at the finals, I do not know, because Procom wouldn't do that. See what I'm trying to say? They did it where it's fair for everybody, but all of a sudden, the biggest rodeo in the world, you got preference because you was winning, and it made it so hard. Right. I did the entering. Of course, I took all the ass, if it's anybody's fault, it's mine. Y'all did good. It's my fault. I was wrong. I took all the heat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had my gold card. This is for instance, you know how Reno, you had to always call in, buy your stalls, and we get there. I forget where we've been traveling from. You know, we're tired. There's a whole bunch of people down there trying to get their stalls. I sat there patiently, and this little old gal, I finally get, how can I help you, sir? Alfalfa Feddersen. I know that I got stalls because my wife would use my credit card, and I'd have, she's like, nope, we don't got you no stalls. I listened to her there for a little bit. I'm sweating. I pull that go card out, set it down there on the table, and I go, ma'am, you know what that means? She goes, oh, that means you're good. And I said, no, ma'am. That means I'm a no good, stupid for not changing my profession years ago. If you don't find them, look here, I'm getting caught. I'm liable to blow this place up if you don't find stalls. Listen, no, I don't mean I mean I'm stupid for not changing years ago my profession. And it was 10 seconds she found it. You know, I had one eye popped out. Yeah, spitting, and you know, at that point, stand back. My crew always at that point, stand back. Texas going off. You
I
know what
love it.
I'm saying?
Yeah, because you were almost the coach of the team. You know, when with the guys in the rig and the horses and the entering, I mean, you were basically the coach.
Pretty much. And once, you know, like I told you one time, I was the starting quarterback on the high school football team, and we could be behind, and I'd be going up and down the sidelines just, we're coming back. Well, you know, I just believed. I mean, we're going to do, they got no chance. We're going to kick their ass. But my crew believed in me. And like, they always like to say, if there's another rodeo going on, like during, say, Cheyenne, I'd get them a ride with somebody over there where they's at, and I would stay where the big money was. And that wouldn't happen 4 or 5 times a year. Well, they'd get over there and somebody go, oh, where's Alfalfa? You know, they try to break our deal up. Well, he's over there where the big money's at, stupid. We can go over here and get on whatever, you know, they'd always try to, but we were together 98% of the time. And sometimes I'd send one horse with them over there with somebody else or something. It was a team effort. And I'd tell them, look here, I don't care what happens. I got your back. I'm on you, and vice versa. You know, they'd have my back. And it made it a very cohesive deal. Like if they did bad, I did bad. If we did good, I told them, I said, look here, I just want to impress my banker. I not want to be because y'all won because he's rich. I don't even want to know I'm there. Y'all get all the credit, the buckles, the saddles. I just want to slip over and impress my banker. That way, everybody's happy. We were somewhere one time, and we hadn't been winning for, I don't know, maybe a week or 10 days or something. And you know how always you pull up to the gate and they check your credentials and you pull through. We're tired. There's all, you know, in our truck. We slide through, start pulling through there, and they handed me my credentials back. And I go, that's it. The only chance we had of not getting money is that guy locked the gate and didn't let us in. I said, they're fucked. We're getting money tonight. Or I reached down and pulled my pistol out. And I go, or I'm robbing the hot dog stand. We're leaving here with money. And they got money. Like, whoa, that crazy bitch my name, mean it. You know, I gave him a pep talk, but kind of in a different way.
Love it. Well, you being one of the most probably colorful hazers that I think of that I know of for sure coming up. Well, then you probably late 90s, early 2000, right around there. Isn't that when Sid kind of started making his move and you was hazing for him? And between the two of you, like there was a lot of energy in the arena.
Sid Rock, let me tell you something. That was all on a Natch and Budweiser beer occasionally. But he had that same fire. Like I mean, I had to be careful what I told him because he'd bring me back a horn for something to drink beer out of.
I know what you mean.
I mean,
Oh, that's awesome.
your shirt off out in the arena, and they had a person that dressed him, that picked out his wardrobe every night for the final. I forget what you call them, but that picked, here's your outfit, and put it on, and he'd listen to me. He wasn't at first. Now, when they first started rodeo with me and Todd Fox, he didn't listen to nobody. Young guy, I didn't either when I started out. You know what I'm saying? And but Todd Fox with Todd and Sid was look here. I don't know how many world championships he could have won. I think he could probably saddle up today and still get money. You know what I'm saying? Because he worked out. He was a kickboxer. He had a big old dummy at home. No time. It probably cost $1,000. Looked like a man, but that he could kick, and he was badass with his fist. I can tell you, he liked to fight, and he was a showman. His dad was his grandpa was Tommy Steiner, rock producer extraordinaire, a lot of flamboyant. I mean, a lot of color, like in music playing. And here come Bobby, won the world, and he retired. When you're the world champ, the only place to go is down, because you're at the top. He retired. That's hard to do, but he did. Well, when Sid won the world, I thought, looky here, I'm fixing to make some money. It wasn't just by Houston, he had retired, and I was like, are you kidding me? Because he was young. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the reason was, I think, is because the only place to go is down. Now I've told my wife, and I said, we'll see. I said, when Rocker started riding, I said, look here, people are cussing him, and it's because they're jealous is all. I said, that boy's got talent. Like when he said he wanted to start riding be barrack riders, well, we better get him a coach. You know who they hired?
AC Field, wasn't it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we want to do this for sure. Why not get the best, see? And and just like this year, he was in a class by himself, Rocker was, and maintained it all, come into the lead, big lead. Now people are pulling for him. But before that loudmouth, long-haired, and now they love him, and which he deserved it. He grew up, and he's going to win a ton of money over the next. But I'm anxious to see if, about him retiring. To me,
yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
I mean, it really is. But
this episode is brought to you by Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, Texas. Got land to care for, a yard that needs taming, or a job that calls for serious muscle? Then you got to check out Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, Texas, your go-to source for top-tier Kubota tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, and construction equipment. Whether you're farming, landscaping, or tackling projects around your property, they've got the equipment to help you get more done. From rugged tractors and backhoes to precision mowers and utility vehicles, Techstar Kubota pairs great machines with even better customer service. And right now, they've got serious savings on select Kubota products, like low monthly payments on tractor packages, 0% APR offers, and special deals on Z-Series mowers and construction equipment. But hurry, these exclusive offers won't last long. Need parts? They've got them. Need service? They'll take care of it. And their team of trained experts is ready to help match you with the right equipment for your job and your budget. So head over to TechstarKubota.com or call 254-968-0911 today. That's Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, where hard work meets outstanding service and unbeatable deals.
What do you think it is about that family pedigree? There's something to the fact that every one of them there is fit, they're athletic.
they're talented, but there's got to be something to that mentality. Like that family just has such a winning mentality that
To me,
what is it? Is it three generations of world
yeah,
championships? Would that be right?
Bobby, world champion bull rider, Sid, world champion steer wrestler, Rocker, grandpa, dad, and son. To me, Leon Coffey, Leon and me are very good friends. He used to clown for Tommy, and he said he was around them forever. Well, they grew up not thinking they was better than everybody, but just that yes, you can do this. If they wanted to do something, they went and got the best coaches that was available. They went to school or what and was told, yes, you can do this. I mean, Sid's very respectable. Yes or no, sir. Don't get me wrong. Now you might not want to bump him in the chest right after he throws one down, because you'd liable to get hit or something.
He's still a killer. He's just a polite one.
Look here, exactly. He'd rip your head off and shit in your neck. I mean, at that right there after that deal. But you're right, he's a killer. And in rock, you got to have this mentality that what? I'm not saying that they're brought up to what? To believe you can do this, and yes, you are better, but not in a way that it's hard to explain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It seems like there's such a belief.
exactly.
That there's just such a belief in what they're going to do, and they know how to get the right training, so they're smart also. But then after that, then the belief comes, and it's everyone there just to support. Like when you watch that kid ride, everyone's there hooping and hollering. You see him in the crowd. The support, the team, and the belief system. It just looks like, man, that they raise champions, no matter what that they're going to do. It just looks like they're going to figure out a way to be the best at it, which whatever it is they set their mind to.
Look here, that's right, and it started way back at Sid's grand, like their brand on all their bucket stock whatever was X bar 7 or X bar S, and that was because Sid's grandpa was illiterate. He in the 30s, 40s, 50s. So he at the bank he signed an X and an S. And Sid one time said, "Grandpa, what's that? What is that brand?" He said, "Well, that's my brand, so they don't steal my cattle." And he said, "Well, it should be B." He didn't realize that that was X, and that he said, "Well, it's my brand, so they don't steal my cattle." Like goofy, don't I mean, but it's instilled in them that yes, you can do this. They get the best people around them, like Todd Fox, 10 times to the end. Look, he knew how to bulldog, whatever, and Sid gravitated. That's who taught Sid really what to do. And then Sid being a competitor, Rocker being this. I mean, it just comes. They can't keep it. Comes out of them. And it's
Talk a little bit about so people that kind of have forgotten that time, like of Sid, because it's doesn't take long for a new generation coming in with Rocker being such a stud. Talk about what a stud his dad was. Talk about Sid, like when you're over there hazing for him at the NFR, one round after another, getting in from the 8th round, 9th round, and just watching the momentum shift. Talk a little bit about how that dude was just a badass when it come down to it during that world title.
That year, I'm going to say at the end of July and the 1st of August, I told him, we're going to be the champ. We're going to be the world champ. We're at his house practicing, and he just percussion whipping these steers to the ground. And I said, look here, you can be the world champ, son. Oh, he was in the top 15, but I said, mark my word. And they owned a boot shop, like handmade boots. And his dad said, well, if he is, what do you want? I said, I want a pair of them handmade boots. You got it. And they never, I'm talking about July. And as we kept we maybe 15th and start here. We start, and I could see it building. I said, look here, I've seen a lot of been around this long time. You're going to be the champ. And in the finals as we got there, the whole deal was, dude, look, we got to get through these first 3 rounds. Do not be late. If you're late, I'm going to try you, which I had no chance of it, but do not be late. Well, that's a sin, and anybody that get through the first run on the cattle, then what the world champ is going to be a first or second winner in the average almost every time, maybe third, but.
Yeah, and that steer wrestling, that was always what was kind of the
John Jones,
tilt toward the world championship was that average, wasn't it?
I think John Jones on all 3 world titles, he won the 10th go and the average. Oakberry, 10th go and the average. Sid Steiner, he won the 10th go, and it just starts adding up, and he was like 4th or 5th going into the last day, and I asked Sam Duval the night before. I said, Sam, what's the best steer on? He goes, oh, I forget the number. 32 or what? That's the one. As soon as he told me who had him, I was like, yeah. That in Vegas, if the steer checks off, it's like stealing. I don't mean say it with his head, but doesn't continue to run. It lets you get your feet on the ground. This steer, the first time they ran him, whoever had him the first run, the steer checked off. He was out, and he couldn't get off quick enough, and he missed him. The next time he went, they wanted to go around on him. Well, I go to the motel. My kids are little. My son, he's about 8, and my little daughter and my wife. I said, we go to bed tonight. We got to have 132. Sam Duval said that. I said, everybody dream about 132. I said, we get him, we're gonna be the champ. Mark my word. Well, Whip, Sid's man that saddled our horses named Whip. I'd call him and say, because I was driving out there to the arena, I said, hey, Whip, you got him saddled up? Yep. You seen Sid? Yeah, he came by a while ago walking fast. And I said, that's a good sign. Did he tell you what he had? I think he said 132. I don't know what he is, but 132. I said, get them horses warmed up. This is going to be an ugly what we're fixing to do to him. And hung the phone up. My kids, my little boy he leans over the bed. He goes, did you get him, Dad? Did you get him? I said, what number did I tell you? 132. He's 3-3. Wins the last go, the average. I mean, it was just.
Won the world.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
And look here. He even had the whereabouts. Everybody, he's got the one, and he even, every night I'd come up and I'd have a couple of pieces of bubble gum. I'd go to Walmart. You could buy a bucket of bubble gum before it ever started. I would be chomping on gum. What are you talking about? And every night I'd give him, as I seen him, I'd hand him 2 or 3 pieces of bubble gum. Just keep your mouth, He'd be looking for that gum, I'm telling you. As I'm handing him the gum, he goes, well, and this is the first, before every night before, he's not asking me to start. He knows. I said, he goes, what do you think I ought to see on him? I said, look here. Out of 9 go-rounds, I said, you know what kind of start you've been taking. You take the least that you can think of out of these 9 starts. See what you saw in that one that made you think you might have been just a hair late, but you wasn't. And he said, he winked at me and goes, got you. And he blistered the bear. He threw this steer that high. I think he ripped his shirt open. and when they added it all up, he was the champ. And and I got the boots.
That was the first time. Like that I remembered. And I still think, it could be one of the first times in history you've seen somebody that energetic. You've seen somebody that electrifying, polarizing in the sport of rodeo. Because I remembered my dad lost his mind. My dad was an old traditionalist. He canceled his pro rodeo subscription, sports news subscription, but he still kept watching. He just put it in my mom's name. It was hilarious. But it was funny because like I was a rock and roll kid. I loved the 80s, man. I loved Def Leppard. I loved Bon Jovi. AC/DC. I think to this day, that's still the best era of rock and roll music. We still hear it today. It was that good back then. And, when you've seen a guy come in and do things differently, it sets up a new generation of guys that are now starting to follow. You've seen some different guys in the crowd. You started seeing new sponsors kind of show up to where it kind of broke the mold. I mean, I get we got to have certain traditions. That's fine. But also you can't make it where everyone's just kind of yawning as well. And man, that guy showed up and he sparked some electricity and
He's
a good dude. Like,
he was a crowd pleaser. They loved it.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we got to have young fans keep coming in to watching rodeo. The rock and rollers, and if we're going to continue this on, and that's what to me Sid, and like you said, your dad canceled his subscription, and I understand, but and just like Rocker now.
They ain't going nowhere. To me, it was like the perfect example of the guys hating on Facebook. They say they're done with it. They're still on. They're still watching. They ain't going nowhere. The traditional guys, they're not going nowhere. But how do we grow it? And so there has to be some colorful characters out there that keep the excitement and entertainment, because when you go down to it, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. It's an entertainment industry. The goal is to get butts and seats.
Absolutely. The NFL is adapted new deals to where it's not a penalty if you celebrate, and it is a penalty if you celebrate too much or whatever. Sid ripping his shirt open, and he had on velour shirts, and I mean, it was just $500 boots, and it was great for rodeo.
Yeah, no, he was good for rodeo, and nowadays we can see all the fines, because people take pictures of that fine list over there where you go to see where your draw was, and now it's all over social media. I'd be curious to see back then what all the fines was he had for ripping his shirt off, and probably not, who knows. I think he had to even roll the sleeve up, that's a fine. Probably throwing his hat was a fine. And it was amazing because rodeo was so behind the times. They were fining their contestants even though it was growing their popularity in the sport.
Exactly, and that's even today. They find it had a feather in their hat in one perp or something, and they got a certain fine for that. Or come on, we're doing this to please the crowd, and what? That's baloney. Quit being in the early '60s, and this is Y2K. They're holding it. They're holding it back a little bit. Like this.
Yeah, they're getting it. And rodeo's been notorious for getting in its own way, that's for sure. And I tell you what, who knows how to grow it, and that's the Steiners, because between Rocker and what Sid did, Sid kind of was the first, I would say, the trendsetter for that, and then Rocker's on steroids with it, and I think that's, now that we've got social media, now that we've got the Cowboy Channel, it's doing a good job of showing some colorful people in the industry that's gonna, I think, getting probably more money outside of our industry instead of the same old sponsors.
Absolutely. And look, we got to have new blood to keep growing this thing. I promise you. When I left last time I was at the finals, I think the go round paid $8,000, and that had grown from 4,000. Now it's what, 29 or 28 or 30,000 almost.
I think it's in the 30s. Yeah, I think it's the mid 30s now. I think, and there's rumors. I know that Luke Ranquino has been talking that there's word that with the contracts and where it could go, eventually it's going to get to $70,000 rounds. I don't know how soon that is, and I don't know if that's just talk, but that's real money, and I think that's going to help a lot with creating new opportunities out there for a lot of cowboys.
I've said all along that there's going to be big money in rodeo once the TV comes in. And now that TV is, see, way back, we paid ESPN to put it on, to play it. We paid them. That ain't the way that isn't the way it works. That's how football's got so big and there's so much money. Well, what would be good is that they moved the NFR down the road to where the Raiders play, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now they can have 60, 70,000 people in there. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
Now to go around.
Because I believe that would do it. I believe the industry, because you do that, now you're going to add breakaway. Because you're going to need more people to show up. My opinion, why they don't have breakaway, they already sold it out. So what do they need? They get a venue where they actually can take more people. Breakaway gets in there, I promise you, because they'll want those butts in those seats.
Yeah. And look here, people love the breakaway. It's exciting. They understand it. It's quick, fast. They love it. They really do. And I think that's great for rodeo. And you're right. With a big venue like that, what would it take to run 15 girls? Won't take 15 minutes.
I think my wife clocked it. It'd probably take between 10 to 12 minutes.
There you go. It'd be less,
especially in a smaller arena.
Yeah, it'd be less than 15 minutes, I can tell you. So big deal. The crowd sat there 15 more minutes, I can tell you.
Hello, Team Ropers. If you're looking to get dialed in this year before our Battle of the Branches event the third week in April, listen up. April 15th and 16th, we've got a roping clinic at Park Your Pony in Stephenville, Texas. I'll be instructing the headers, and Trey Johnson will be working with the heelers. This is a great opportunity to get sharp, fine-tune your roping, and get confident before this year's event. The ropings will start Friday, April 17th with our Battle of the Branches preliminary round, followed by the 13.5. Saturday, April 18th, we will have a 12.5 and a 10.5, followed by our Battle of the Branches bracket system that night, followed by a concert. It's going to be a hoot. Sunday, April 19th will be an open roping, followed by a 9.5. For more information, check out libertyandloyaltyfoundation.com and stay tuned in for more details on their social media platforms. Stalls and RV hookups are available. Tuition for the clinic is $800 and spots are limited to 10 headers and 10 heelers. To sign up, head over to charlycrawford.training, click on the clinics tab, and get signed up today. We will see you there.
I think, if all them stock contractors, you know how much they get paid for bringing a bull and him bucking. It's enormous. If you bring 10 bulls and they all go into the rodeo, I think it's over 10,000 out. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's strong what the contractors get per out, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If they're getting that, why don't the cowboy? I hope that it goes to $70,000 to go around. Heck yeah, I'll be looking for some more horses. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I'd love to see you back there. I would freaking love it. I would love it.
Just saying, for that kind of money, I told somebody, I said,
hell yeah,
when I was rodeoing, I said, look, I'll run them right down the interstate for enough money. You know what I mean, man?
Yep. What who have you been watching in the bulldogging? Who's with the? Because I'm sure you've still been watching the Cowboy Channel. I'm sure your head's still been watching I know you watch the NFR. I'm sure too. And when you're watching some of these guys, who's some of the guys that remind you of some of the guys back in your day? Who do you got your eye on? Man, this group of people here, man, in this household, man, we are Will Loomis fans, man. And I think probably because he's such a great dude.
I never look here. I haven't had the Cowboy Channel, Charlie, because until this year, and my stepdaughter got it for me and my wife, and this is the first time.
Nice.
And watched it because I haven't had it, and I get to see some if I go to somebody's house and they'd have on maybe Houston, because I break out in a sweat. And Brenda could,
I love it.
like even in this little, I'm wanting to get up and I can't sit still when I go to talking about it.
Well, that Tucker Allen, that's who I was talking about. But man, he reminds me so much of just that clean technique that John W. has.
Exactly. That young man, look, it was impressive. And that horse, look, worked outstanding. He worked better than any horse there. To me,
I thought so too. Yeah.
I mean, he was catching his right out there where he needed to catch them over and over
Every time.
And what? That young man made the same run every time. Now, on his last steer, that wasn't a very good steer, and he had to he could have beat him on the lip and been 20 or 30 and been the champ, but he just slowed down, got it on him, and I mean, it was impressive what he did. And that was the first time I ever really got to see him do it. He's going to win money for a long time. That guy is.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you on that horse too. That horse looked like, and it looks like he rides good. His technique, even his riding and his horsemanship. But that horse stood there, was on the ground leaving, put him in the same spot, like you said, almost every single time where the money was at. Put his feet in the right spot where it never looked like he was in a jam. It looked sharp.
You could have put a rope, say a big loop out there on the ground, and his feet hitting that loop 10 times. You got what I'm saying? When they come off the horse,
Yeah,
they hit. It was in that loop 10 times. Like Will Loomis, I used to haze for his uncle Bob. And that's who taught him how to do it. Bob Loomis was a bulldogging machine. I can tell you. Will, he's an animal. I'm talking about. But he bulldogs like a little guy. He's got a lot of technique. That first steer at the finals, I mean, as they got to going down the arena, that steer continued to run, and he got off just to herald it, and his Hazer needed to help him right there. Remember, big guy, when Will turned loose of the saddle horn on his first steer, he couldn't reach the left horn, if you remember.
right.
And he was just that much short. If his Hazer would have helped him, which I'm not cussing his Hazer because it's going down Mach 2.
Right.
I mean, and the only person that's never messed up hazing never hazed, I can tell you.
100%.
I mean,
it looks so fast now. It looks so fast. It almost looks like if you're hazing this year now, it almost looks like you're trying to anticipate when he's about to knot.
Well, you better,
because if they've already knotted, they're already gone. It looks like
exactly. I always wanted my hazing horses work was like my first real good hazing horse I got from Paul Tierney, and they used to rope calves on him. You know, I wanted my hazing horse when he heard the bang at the gate to start moving forward. You got me? If you had to kick them out, you had a tendency to, especially if you couldn't have that kind of hazing horse at the NFR. Because as soon as he hears bang, he better be moving, and you throttle him. That if he don't, you're late. And it's happening so quick that you're converging on the steer. If they have to, there's a chance of dying right there. I mean, because it is going down fast. The start on the hazing side is you better be gone. I'm talking about when his chin goes up, you better done be getting it, or you're late. And late will get you killed right there.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, Alfalfa.
I think that Metallica and what's his name?
Tyler Pearson's
there
horse,
you go.
Metallica.
Yeah, Tyler does a great job right there.
I'm a Pearson fan.
Yeah, there were several did good jobs, and there were several of them that needed a little help. But it's hard to haze there, very, very hard.
Yeah, I agree.
As any place in the world. I'd like to say if they move it over there to where the Raiders play, then see in Oklahoma City it was big arenas, great big arena, and I think that small arena it really hurts the timed events. All of them, you know, the team roping the team roping is very exciting because you might be 4 flat money, you know that's what
so fast.
That's why the people love the breakaway. 1-9.
I know it. I know it. That place would be so fast there for sure.
Oh, they'd love it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Alf, man, I appreciate you coming on my podcast, man. I can't tell you how excited I was that you agreed to come on.
Well, look here, Mr. Charlie, I sure appreciate it. I'll tell you what, I've watched a few of some of your other ones and stuff. You got it going on. There's no doubt. You're
Well, I
helping.
appreciate you listening.
You're helping rodeo, and that's what we need. More of that.
I appreciate that.
You're doing a heck.
Well, I sure enjoyed you. I sure enjoyed you when you were out there when I was rodeoing, man. You was one of the guys, man. There was always life around you. Like I talked about earlier, man. I remember one time you walked by, I said, "You got it, babe. You got it." And I'm like, "You damn right I do." And I ran right through the barrier. Wasn't even close. And I'm like, yeah, wrong start, wrong event. But I was like, I love the energy. I love the bulldog and those characters from back then and even still to now. And I love that stuff.
I learned I kind of
and you was that guy, man.
I had to be careful with that. Like, come on, baby,
I loved it though.
Because I that happened. Other people told me that too. Man, don't be coming by telling me that kind of stuff.
Well, I loved it, man. It was good. It was good for a lot of us that on the team roping side, like I say, team rope is more like golf, kind of this and that. And like you show up right there and you're like, man, I just knocked the ball right off the course, not the green, but the course. Yeah. But I loved it. It was fun, man. I love that energy you guys bring. And yet, like I said, when watching you haze, man, you would be freaking hollering before or after, all the way down. And I loved it. I love passion, and you had it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on, Charlie.
All right, my man. You betcha, partner. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you very much.
Well, you take care, buddy.
Adios.